What's up, everybody? Welcome to another live where we're going to talk about free agency. Free agency is tomorrow. It is very, very, very exciting. But yeah, got a lot of news to get onto. Potentially Travis Kelce coming back. I saw Diana Rossini talking about that. But yeah, there's just a lot to talk about, a lot to consider. We're going to listen to just all the things. Alec Pierce. It's looking like it's going to get a bunch of money tomorrow, like $27 million. Like just a ridiculous amount of money. It's going to be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. Remember last year it was Milton Williams, right? Milton Williams got that deal, and then it was like, oh no, we're not going to give you that deal. So yeah, it's just going to be. I'm very, very interested in how it's all going to pan out, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it, see what happens. But look, Alec Pierce is going to get paid tomorrow. Alec Pierce is going to get his money tomorrow. I want everybody to know Alec Pierce is going to get north of 27, 28 million dollars. And it is going to be a lot of money. Like, it is just going to be a lot of money. Do not be surprised if he gets 27, 28 million dollars per year. That's how much money he's going to make. And yeah, it's just going to be a lot of money. And he's going to get a similar, he's just going to get a bunch of money. So that's what's going to happen. But yeah, let's get right to it. Well, let me share my screen here, and then we'll just start talking. We'll just start talking about some sports and what's about to happen. So what do we want to watch first? Let's watch the Athletic guys, see what they're saying. Oh, I don't know why that's not working. I don't know why that's not working.
Little emergency podcast action here on a Sunday morning, which been helped along by the daylight savings. So it's actually feels more like 10 a.m., but little podcast.
Looks like Robert got a haircut. That's the first thing I noticed. Good gracious, Robert.
With your coffee this morning. Very excited to do it because we had a ton of news this weekend. I figured that we might, but Dave, you're sitting there Friday night. I'm enjoying a nice leisurely evening with my wife on the couch, and then I get the alert on my phone. I am incredibly excited. She does not care. A tale as old as time. One of my favorite things that happens when we get these like massive news moments at those times of night. And we had a hell of a one on Friday night. Well, we can say that.
See, that's the fun difference is I am marrying somebody who works in the industry. So
Yes.
Carmen and I just dropped everything we were doing, and we were like charting out the value, deciding how we felt about it. I think we were like making dinner and had a TV show on, and we just dropped everything for like 45 minutes to gauge how each other felt about this. It was great. And it's right in line. Like, we joke about it for a reason. Like, as soon as it's Friday night, or as soon as you kind of feel like things are calming down, the Baltimore Ravens swing a major trade to.
You ever hear a city hum like it's got a story to tell? That's Nashville.
Your upgrade is ready, Miss Langley.
My upgrade? See y'all later. Guys, look at this one. See how she sounds. You think you could beat me in? Beat that. Oh! Drinks on me. Never met anyone like you.
Experience the sounds of Nashville with the card that's even more rewarding.
I don't even want to say like pry their window open, because I think even despite a pretty disappointing season in Baltimore, I think most people were probably still going to be pretty high on them when all was said and done. But talk about a swing for the fences to get you excited about a new regime. I mean, John Harbaugh leaves and all hell breaks loose. Like the biggest Ravens trade in history. I mean, I know that's only 31 years, but still, this is.
I think he's probably right on that. What have been the biggest trades in Baltimore Ravens history? Like, that's my question. Baltimore Ravens trade history. I mean, if we go to Pro Football Reference, would have been the traits. I mean, this is, I just don't think there's been anything like this from the Ravens kind of perspective before. Yeah.
Even for a team that hasn't been unwilling to spend, we talked about Roquan Smith recently. Like, it's not that they've been unwilling to do it, but this still feels like another level when you're talking about the Baltimore Ravens addressing a problem.
There's no doubt. I think there are a few different layers to this where it feels unprecedented might be strong, but it definitely takes things into a new direction. I feel like for the market for players, for the Ravens in general, I think there are a lot of layers that we need to dig into here. But Derek, I'm just curious, your initial reaction when you saw this. Like, what was your thought when you saw that Baltimore was the team that ended up willing to do this?
I mean, I think this is a team that, again, is closer than last year felt. I mean, they were extremely banged up on both sides of the ball, but definitely on defense. Their quarterback was hurt. Like, this to me feels like a team that is still at its core, like a 10-plus win team pretty consistently. And I think for them to realize that Lamar Jackson is 29 years old, which is not old, but given the way that he plays quarterback and the way that he might age compared to some other guys, like this next 3-year window is kind of it. And so for them to try to pry it open with Max Crosby, who I know last year was a down year, and I think some people have even made the argument that the year before was a down year. I still think he is a monster. Like he is an Iron Man. Like the way that he's going to defend the run for them is incredible. He's the best pass rusher they've had in I don't even know how long. Like, it's been a very, very long time. So
I like Terrell Suggs on the edge.
Yeah,
I mean that's what we're talking about here.
Like legitimately, like it's been a very long time since they've had a player like this. So I'm incredibly jazzed for this. I think it's going to be really, really good.
Yeah, kudos to you, Maze. I saw you pumping your take from the week where, hey, but you were right. I mean, obviously it's a different player and you do something totally different, but a Jalen Phillips signing, the idea was to accomplish a similar goal and you just took it to a completely different stratosphere.
I don't think I deserve any credit for that. I think it just mostly speaks to where I thought their mindset might be. And that's my first reaction to this. It's funny that you guys go to, oh, they're still close and that's why they have to do this. My thought when you see a move like this is we're further away than we want to be. Like in terms of just being able to ride it out and stay the course and operate the way that we typically like to. And I think that's, to me, one of the more surprising elements of this is that, the Ravens, especially at edge, if you look back over the last 10 or 15 years, they've just done such a good job of having this kind of assembly line where they would cycle through these day 2 to day 3 type of picks over and over and over again. And they'd let those guys hit free agency because they were comfortable being able to replenish that position. And it's kind of run dry. The OA thing is interesting. Obviously, he's going to get paid a lot in free agency, but he's a specific type of player. He's a little bit undersized. He's, pass rushing is mostly what he's giving you. Typically, when they were hitting on those guys, I mean, Derek, they were big bodied players that really were able to give you a little bit of everything. And for them to just not have anybody like that come along in the last 4 or 5 years, I think just kind of speaks to, if not desperation, then urgency at the position in a way that we don't typically see with the Ravens. And that's what this feels like to me. This feels like them scrambling a little bit in ways that they don't often have to. And that's not even a criticism. I actually think it's probably the right approach with where they are right now. But that's the element of this that just doesn't feel like a typical Baltimore Ravens move to me.
Well, and I think part of the issue with why the edge stuff has run dry is they were drafting different players. Like you said, like when they were drafting those 3rd, 4th, 5th round guys, it was Pernell McPhee's and Zadarius Smiths. It was the 270 pounds. Guys, Matthew Judon. Like it's going to be these guys who are 260 to 275 pounds. We're going to put them at 3-tech sometimes. We're going to put them over a center. They're going to be spinners, all this stuff. David Ajabo, like Odafe Owe, those are not guys who really do that. And I think they kind of just started to go for speed in a way that just didn't really work for them. And I think that they couldn't figure out how to replenish the room in a way that they had for, 10 years before that. And so I think maybe it's a little bit of desperation, but I also do think that this is like you bring in Jesse Minter and you're like, how do we get his defense off the ground as quickly as possible? And I think if we consider both free agency and the likely trade market, like Max Crosby was the best player that you could get on the market. And so I think for them to go out and do that, also knowing like specifically with Minter's defense, how important it is to have a edge defender who can defend the run, like at a really high level and set the end.
Solak kind of talked about this in his article, and it's the idea that like if you've got to be able, one of the things that Crosby does so well is that his pressure rate, even though it's gone down the last couple of years, I mean, there's that, but also it's also the idea that he's just a phenomenal like edge setter, and what he provides for you in terms of stopping the run is so good. It's so good in terms of what he does.
Edge like that, I think this is going to go a really long way for them for that specific reason.
That's where I land with this as well. The price is obviously huge and we can talk about it, but having a two-way guy that's going to be able to contribute on every single play. But at the same time, I don't think he'll play every single play for the Ravens defense the way he did with the Raiders. And that's kind of why I think the production, you actually on a per play basis might see him be more efficient and more impactful. And listen, you look at the numbers from last year, he was banged up. He was on an imploding team. Betting that you're going to see a better version of Max Crosby in 2026, than you did in 25. I completely understand that if you're the Ravens. So on a football level, I'm 100% with you, but you look at the price and you just look at history, and we just don't usually see stuff like this, Dave. I mean, 2 first-round picks, you look at the guys who've been traded for 2 first-round picks over the last 10, 15 years, you can go back for a little bit further than that. It's almost exclusively second contract players that are star-level guys. Micah Crosby. Micah Parsons last year is an easy example. We've got
Be a
plenty
hell
more
of
of
a
those.
player, Micah Crosby. Oh my
Micah
God.
Crosby would be, yeah, just think about it. Micah Crosby would be real good. So Micah Parsons last year, you have that example. Jamal Adams, Laramie Tunsil. These are guys that are second contract guys kind of hitting their prime. Max Crosby is going to be 29 years old. And so this is just a market we don't typically see. And Quinn Williams is probably the closest analog when it comes to guys at this stage of their careers. Quinn Williams goes for a 1 and a 2 to Dallas. Dallas was trying to send a 1 and a 2 to the Raiders for Max Crosby. And the Ravens, because that offer is on the table, they have to top it. And that's how you get to this place where you're sending 2 first-round picks for a guy who's about to be 29 years old. And that's just not typically the type of move that we see anybody make.
Which I want to be clear, it's a little unprecedented for the Ravens. I said on Friday night that it's exciting, and it is undoubtedly exciting to add like a top 4 edge to your team. And we don't think the Ravens are going to be as bad as they looked at times last year. I don't love it. I can get as far as to say I like it for Baltimore because Lamar Jackson gives you a chance to be competitive. If you get this defense back to the level it was at a couple years ago, like we know the Ravens are good enough to be a.
I think it's fair what they're saying. I think it's fair what they're saying in terms of how much they gave up to get him. Like it's a ridiculous amount of money that you give up to go get a guy like that. But if you're Baltimore, you see how hard it's been. You see how hard it's been to essentially get a guy like that. So why not? Why not just go all in? You had an off year. The way the Baltimore's thinking about it is we're going to be picking at the bottom half of the first round for years to come. It's essentially a second round.
Big factor in the playoffs, potentially even have home field advantage throughout. Like that's not a pipe dream, but 2 first-round picks is such a lofty price to pay. And it's funny, I came to the opposite conclusion from the same amount of data as Derek, because it's like, oh, Lamar Jackson is 29, 30 years old. This is the time to go for it. And I'm like, I don't know, man, this feels like the time where you want to have assets on hand to replenish things around Lamar Jackson. Like if something goes wrong, if the offensive line isn't up to snuff, and to be clear, also, we don't know what the Ravens are going to wind up looking like yet. We still have the vast majority of free agency in the draft to go through. But if your offensive line is still a problem point, if your receiving weapons are a problem, which, spoiler alert, they kind of have been for a long time, if the Ravens can't get all of that right, all of a sudden you have that fewer resources and none of the big ones to fix it with. And when Lamar Jackson is 30 years old, that makes me a little bit nervous. Like you are putting a huge amount of onus on Max Crosby to be that dude with a capital D. Like if he's pretty good or like, yeah, like he's still great, then that's not good enough. Like it's got to be defensive player of the year caliber type stuff to make this pay off. And it's not to say that it can't, but I think I said this last week, like you're raising the threshold that much higher. And the other part of that too, you mentioned, is other teams were willing to do this and the Ravens leapfrogged them. I think you're right. Like that is I think desperation comes with a negative connotation, but they were very adamant, very, very adamant to try to get this thing over the finish line. And it's like I said, I think it's a high threshold. It's a high bar to clear when you're doing this type of stuff. And it makes me pretty nervous.
Price is the price, right? I mean, if a team is willing to give up a first and a second, like you want them, like the price is the price.
But should you be willing to beat that? Like, should you be willing to beat the Dallas Cowboys in a bidding war? That would make me nervous if I were the Baltimore Ravens.
I would be like to have. I think especially again when you consider Minter's defense to have. It's right. It's not my money. But here's the other thing. I think I'm a little more like with team building, like scared money don't make money. Like I'm go and do shit like this. I think, and especially on defense when you have like true field tilters like Roquan Smith, like Max Crosby, it just like changes the math for you on.
The question that the Ravens are going to have to deal with essentially is, did we make a mistake? Are we making a mistake by paying this amount of money? I think, to me, initially, this trade makes way more sense than the DJ Moore trade. It makes so much more sense because you know what Crosby is. The Bills gave up a second. The Bills gave up a second-round pick for DJ Moore. The Ravens gave up 2 firsts. Like, to me, I want to bet on Crosby. If you're the Ravens, you think your time is now. Really, that's what it is.
Defense, we saw this with them before. Obviously, they have Kyle Hamilton as well. Like when you have enough of those guys who are field tilting players, and if you have one of them at all three levels, if you get that on top of like Lamar Jackson, even playing at 90% of whatever his peak was, because last year he was like 60, you have a team that is again the top of the AFC. Like this probably does hurt them for whatever they might look like in 2028, because you're obviously taking away first round picks. But what is the chance that either of those first round picks is even 75% of the player that Max Crosby is going to be for the next 3 years? And also money wise, if Max Crosby explodes, I think they.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's a good point. And the reason I kind of like it is because you're at the back half. You're at the back half of the first round. Those are essentially second round picks. So I see that. I don't know. My question is, why didn't they take the Dallas deal? Like, that's what I don't understand. Why not take the Dallas deal? Do they just not want to help out Dallas? Because Dallas is not in the same, like the Ravens are AFC. Dallas is NFC. So like that, I don't know about that.
Can get out of this deal in like a year or two, and it doesn't really hurt them cap-wise. Like, I don't think that this is that bad for them.
New Old Spice Cosmic Quest 24/7 freshness makes me want to be Mario. He has the confidence to fly through the galaxy wearing nothing but...
I want to take the opportunity to point that out. And it's another layer of this too. And I think it's only fair to say, because the Ravens are one of those teams, they have a great reputation for good reason. I think a lot of the things they do tend to get seen through rose-colored glasses because you can see the logic and the process of it all. Robert, you already said it, but you wind up in this place because you haven't been drafting as well as the reputation suggests that you do. And I think that's worth pointing out, because every draft weekend, the Ravens take a guy with a name that we know who's not supposed to be there, and everybody freaks out about it. And to be fair to them, sometimes that's Kyle Hamilton, and they have definitely made some great picks, but you don't do this if you've been drafting as well over the last 3-5 years as the reputation suggests that you do.
Derek pointing out that you're seeking out field tilters on defense. That to me speaks to the larger conversation about what this means for the Ravens and their overall construction at the end of this process. We're now at a place where for years and years and years,
I kind of dig Robert's haircut. I'm not going to lie. I really do dig Robert's haircut. I think it looks great.
When the Ravens were in 2023, let's just say 2023, when the Ravens felt like their peak was as good as any other team in the NFL, other than Lamar Jackson, how many like superstar level players were on the Ravens? Roquan and Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton was kind of ascending to that place, right? Like on offense, they were the most efficient offense in football that year. Excuse me, 2024, they were the most efficient offense in football. It's just 2024. They're the most efficient offense in football in 2024. And it was Lamar and maybe Tyler Linderbaum, but for the most part, it's not a star-laden team. That's how the Ravens have been competitive consistently for a while here, where you look across the roster and you're like, there's not a lot of star power, but there's not a lot of holes either. Like it's just well constructed, and there are a lot of contributing pieces, and it all kind of makes sense together. This move specifically is pushing you in a slightly different direction, where that type of build, where you were solid across the board. But
this goes completely. If we're talking about why the Ravens did this, let me see if I can find the clip with Benjamin Solak, because this goes completely to the point of what Benjamin Solak said about the Ravens. Let me see if I can find it real quick, because it Benjamin Solak, K. Adams, Ravens. I very much remember specifically what he said, and everybody was like, whoa. Where is it? Where?
Kind of nothing at halftime, right? When you get the snack season as you get, right? And you got it with.
I don't know. I don't know that I'm going to find it. Maybe we'll go back to this.
Never really got you there. And now you're at a place where this becomes very quickly, very top-heavy football team. If you're looking at 2027, Lamar, Roquan, Matt Bike, which is an entirely different conversation, Max Crosby, Kyle Hamilton, and then we don't want to throw Ronnie Stanley in there as well, but even if you didn't. So Jackson Smith, Matt Bike, Crosby, Hamilton. You have 5 guys who are going to be making $26 million a year against the cap. You have 2 guys making between $24 and $10 million a year. That's what the roster has become to an extent when you do something like this. And part of the reason is you feel like you're pushed to this place because the roster isn't quite as good top to bottom as it used to be. But this comes with risks. It's a different sort of mindset that comes with its own set of problems. And now you're in a place where after doing this, like Dave kind of alluded to, there's still a lot of holes on this team. You're probably not bringing back Tyler Linderbaum. You need at least one new guard. You probably need another pass catcher. You need another starting safety. You probably need, if not a starting outside corner, then some depth at outside corner. The Madubuike question looms. If he comes back, then your interior feels a lot better. But this is a team that it's not a Baltimore Ravens roster where you're looking at it on March 1st and thinking, they don't really have that many holes. They can kind of do whatever they want. That's not what this is. And so to see this type of a Baltimore team make this type of deal, I think it feels new coming from two different directions.
The fun thing is the quickness with which things can change. I mean, there's a lot of smoke and speculation about a Lamar extension. We've talked about it. If you can get him extended and free up that money to suspend a little bit more than you might, then maybe the whole picture for this thing changes. And for that matter, we talked about it at the beginning of the offseason. If Nnamdi Madubuike comes back with a clean bill of health, I'm just going full Derek and I'll just jump right on the bandwagon and not even think about it. So there are some pretty big variables here that can still change. But right now, as we sit here on Sunday morning, I'm like, this is exciting, but I can't get all the way to love. Merely like.
The thing I'll say doesn't, and maybe I'm coping because I already like the deal anyway, doesn't them doing the deal feel weirdly optimistic for the Madubuike thing? Like, I think if they thought that he wasn't going to play for them, they might be in more of a spot where it's like, okay, maybe we do need to take a step back here. But if they think that he might be ready to go, then it's like, well, why don't we just load up and get another Max Crosby and throw it in?
We keep having different reactions to the same stuff because I'm sitting here thinking, if they felt really good about Madubuike, they're like, okay, we've got an all-pro guy coming back to this line. We don't need to do anything nuts. We can probably draft or make some middle-of-the-pack signings that would get this thing up to snuff if Nnamdi is there. And trading for Max Crosby, to me, might signal, hey, we need a do-everything guy who can wreck shit on his own no matter what's going on with Madubuike. So, and to be clear, I have no idea what is going on.
Right, neither do I. Yeah, that's what I said too. I'm not even going to speculate. I have absolutely no idea. When you look at the finances of it, they're currently $12 million over the cap. If you look over the cap, they're going to do something to Lamar's contract, right? Like, it's whether if he doesn't get an extension, then they're probably going to restructure it. If they take it down to zero, they would have like $26 million in cap space. There's some other things they can do as well. And I'll be curious, do they touch Crosby's contract? Because as Derek alluded to, there's no guaranteed money left on that deal, I think, at all. And so if they want to just restructure that thing, it's $30 million in base salary. That'll give them a little bit more wiggle room. And again, it feels like you're kind of compromising on the way that you want to do things on a couple different levels here, but maybe we're just in that place where they understand they have to do that. Because if they can free up a decent amount of cap space, then you can find a starter at center, a starter at guard, you go out and find a safety, maybe a corner. Like, they might have the financial flexibility to shop in that middle-class tier of players to fill some of those holes. But it's just a different conversation about the Baltimore Ravens than the one I thought we'd be having. The last point here, I think I want to make is that some people are going to look at the Cowboys being willing to deal 1 and a 2 for Max Crosby a year after trading Micah Parsons and be like, what the hell? You didn't want to keep Micah, but you were willing to do something like this for a guy who's 3-4 years older. Two things I would say about that. Like we talked about with the contract, because that contract already exists, the cash payout is just going to be a lot different with Micah Parsons than it is with Max Crosby. I think with Micah, the first 2 years in cash was $85 million. With Max, I think it's $60 million. And so that just gives you a big chunk of change to work with to spend on other players if you're Dallas or if you're a team like Baltimore here. And the other thing, and this came up a lot in conversations with coaches, for personnel people at the combine consistently, and it wasn't even about Micah necessarily. It touched on a bunch of different players, but I think from people in our seats, we underrate how important it is for teams and for people in those buildings, for the guys they pay the most amount of money to be the guys who set the culture in those buildings. And I think with Dallas, whether you like it or not, they did not see Micah Parsons as that sort of guy. Max Crosby is that sort of guy. Max Crosby is the sort of guy where if you're paying him.
I think part of what, hold on, let me turn this off. I think part of the Dallas thing that's really interesting is like, what are you going to do if you're Dallas? Right. I mean, look, I'm of the belief that Dallas should have never let go of Micah, but yeah, it's just really, really interesting. Okay, well, we got our thoughts on that. Let's go to, I wanted to do just a little bit of more free agency stuff. So let's see what the guys are talking about here in terms of free agency. Let's share this tab instead, and we'll go from there.
And Ocean. All right, this is going to be one. I'm just going to be honest. This is chalky. People are not going to like it. People are going to hate it. They're going to go in the graphic and just think, "What the hell am I looking at?" We're just getting this is points on the board.
Right.
Vikings.
No.
Garrett. Garrett.
He's a veteran. He's a veteran. We're bringing him back 1 year, $1.5 million.
Is that Kirk Cousins?
Welcome in, everybody. Kirk? We are here with.
Is he talking about Kirk? Because if he's talking about Kirk, that's hilarious. That's actually really, really funny.
3 very special guests. We're here with Garrett Greenlee. You guys are familiar with him on the weekly preview show on the Football Analysis channel. We got Arif Hassan, the mastermind behind Wide Left, and Trevor Sikkema of the NFL Stock Exchange and the PFF industrial complex, really.
It's true.
It's
true.
So I'm not gonna lie, it's the first time I've hosted a show with 3 guests. It's a little intimidating. I feel like I need to break out like the around the horn deal and like give you guys points when you have good takes and mute you when you say something stupid.
That's not fair. I would like to talk. I don't.
The mute button is especially catered for a reef, but we do have a bit of a point system actually for today's show. So we are doing something that was totally inspired by my favorite baseball podcast. It's the Talkin' Baseball Show. So shout out to Trevor and Jake, who do a great job covering the MLB over there. But this is basically a point system. We're just gonna like predict, basically shoot the shit. Like, let's be honest, we're just trying to come up with some fun predictions, fun landing spots for free agency. And just real quick before I pass the mic off and let you guys talk, here is the scoring system for how this is going to work. So if you correctly predict a single player to go to a new team, you get 10 points. We're going to allow anybody, if you want to predict one trade, if you want to get a little crazy, if you include the right player there to a different team, that will be another 10 points. And then 5 points if you predict that a player ends up re-signing with their former team. And then we're also going to just try to give the contracts roughly as well. So you get 3 points if you assign the correct contract length, and 3 points if your average salary per year, your APY, is within 2 million of what ends up happening. So just a little fun way to score it. Raise the stakes for whatever it's worth. But I'm gonna let you guys talk for a second, because I'm gonna pull up a snake draft order randomizer to determine who gets the number 1 pick here.
Shout out to Josh Capo, who did a lot of the heavy lifting for the predictions for a lot of these free agents over at PFF.com, which is basically all of my notes here, because this is probably my biggest gap of knowledge when it comes to covering the NFL calendar. But that's also why I'm very excited about this show, because I feel like we're just going to throw out numbers and teams and players, and we all just get to freak out about it. So this is going to be fun.
I mean, let's be honest. This is what everybody is doing at home over the weekend with their friends. Like, I mean, speculating
every free agency period. I'm just like, what? How? Who? That guy? And it's just like, it's every 2 hours. They're not.
Trev wearing his University of Florida shirt. By the way, if y'all haven't checked out Trev's work, y'all should check out his podcast. It's very, very good. NFL market.
Even that, like, I just feel like I'm doing that with every player. So this is essentially going to be a podcast that's just that.
And every free agent you've won is going to your team. Like it's very much like it's already in stone.
Of course.
And Alec Pierce is going to all 32 teams.
Right.
So
he's a good fit. He fits the system.
All right. I'm going to hit the randomize button on the order.
Okay.
Okay. Here's the draft order, and we will snake it. So Arif gets the number 1 pick, then me, then Trevor, then Garrett.
I would have guaranteed you going last. I could have guessed that.
I didn't even get the hot corner. God, that's tough.
It's nice you get. I like where we're at, Trevor, because we get a little extra time to get ready for our next.
That's true.
This is a lot of pressure. I'm gonna miss something crazy obvious that it's just gonna come up in the next 2 picks. Like, oh yeah, I didn't even realize he was a free agent. I didn't even know he played football. That's crazy.
This guy's still in the league. Yeah. Wait, you mean they're paying him real money?
But now I just kind of want to pick Mike Evans to any other team just to take Trevor off.
No, there you go. Anybody who picks Mike Evans, sworn enemy, will never come on the NFL Stock Exchange show again.
All right, so
it's like the opposite of how I feel about Quay Walker and my Packers. Like, please, someone take him.
All right, so I just get started with my first pick, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
okay, so
dive on in.
So no matter, I'm just trying to get. So no matter what, I get the point if it's within 2 million, right?
Oh,
like that's
no.
correct.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Don't steal. Go ahead.
What do you mean steal? I don't know what you're thinking. All right, so Kyler Murray could sign for.
That was the only thing I.
Oh my God! We all have to say 1-1.
I don't know what Trevor's freaking out about. I don't know who else you wanted him to get with that first pick. Like, Kyler Murray's probably going to go to Minnesota.
So there's a good chance Kyler Murray could sign for vet minimum, and I'm going to give myself the leeway of projecting 3.3 million because then I get the range between 1.3 and 5.3 on a 1-year deal with the Vikings. Unfortunately.
Ooh. All right, we got our
That was
Vikings
was that a
insider telling you.
consensus 1-1? Was that Ellie?
That was first note. Kyler Murray.
Wow.
No question. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it does feel like that's kind of the spot everyone's been saying. You know, they're the quarterback away, and I